Was the ceasefire a trap, and is it over before it even begun? We're going to be talking about that question in today's video and the impact on the financial markets, because we have some breaking news, some breaking intelligence to share with you, both sides of the story. So what is the US saying? What is the Iranian saying? And what is the mediator Pakistan saying about this whole dilemma? And what really is going to happen in the long term in the Middle East, because I'll give you my predictions at the end of this video where I think this whole thing is going, because we're starting to see a bit of a pattern. And if you look at the oil price, what you were seeing is this oil price rising back up right here. So if you take a very close look at this, it's coming back up because the markets are starting to realize what's happening. I'll explain that to you in this video. And we're also going to be talking about a draft in the USA. Is the automatic draft coming? We're going to be talking about that and the military age and what's truly happening, what's on the horizon in the US. So stick around to the end of the video. And if you guys enjoy it, just like the video. We try and aim for 10 likes and 100 views currently. We're trying to grow the channel. And if you want to subscribe, get the next breaking intel where you understand both sides and you get the best intelligence so you can, make your own decision and what you think's going on. Make sure to subscribe to this channel because I'll give you both sides, what both sides are saying and my own opinion about the matter. So having said that, let's get straight into it. So the big news coming in right now, coming in hot. It's this. Let's play this clip.
Harris, good morning. We start with breaking news. State media reports that Iran has halted the passage of oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz after Israeli attacks on Hezbollah in Lebanon. Earlier today, we know 2 vessels were able to go through this passageway. But again, state media is reporting that the Iranians are choking off the strait.
So the Strait of Hormuz, the gates of Hormuz are starting to close once again. So I thought just yesterday we had a deal. I thought there was a 2-week ceasefire. I thought this was all resolved and we're going to have 2 weeks of prosperity, but it doesn't look like that is actually the case. So you can see right here, this was Trump's big announcement. This is what made the markets rally. This is what made the oil price drop yesterday. He says here, this is Trump's own words, based on conversations with Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Field Marshal Azmin Munir of Pakistan, and wherein they request that I hold off the destructive force being sent tonight to Iran and subject to the Islamic Republic of Iran agreeing to the complete, immediate and safe opening of the Strait of Hormuz, I agree to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for a period of 2 weeks. This will be a double-sided ceasefire. The reason for doing so is that we have already met and exceeded all military objectives and are very far along with a definitive agreement concerning long-term peace with Iran and peace in the Middle East. We received a 10-point proposal from Iran and believe it is a workable basis on which to negotiate. Now, we're just going to pause right there. Now, to refresh your memory, this is generally the 10-point plan. We've been through this before in previous videos, but if you have a look right here, at some of these, it's going to be, where is it? Number 3, end to Israeli strikes in Lebanon. And this has also been confirmed by, Pakistan right here. And the Prime Minister of Pakistan, we'll just listen into this clip from CNN, but let's just listen in and I'll give you more information about this.
Israel has continued to attack Lebanon, saying it is not part of this ceasefire, despite your Prime Minister, Sharif, saying it is. Can you clarify what the parties of this war have agreed to there? And are you concerned Israel could derail the broader ceasefire agreement at this point?
Well, as the description and understanding has come from the highest level in Pakistan, so it could not have been more authentic in terms of the offer made by the Prime Minister and accepted by the 2 conflicting parties of affording a ceasefire for 2 weeks. So it could not have been more authentic, and the understandings associated with it could not have been more true.
So what he's saying right there is he's saying, the Pakistan Prime Minister, he highlighted this. And the Iranian Foreign Minister has also highlighted that, and he's saying with high authenticity, because Pakistan has been the negotiator, it's been the mediator during this conflict. They were the independent voice between the 2 warring parties, Iran and the USA, and they actually said that Lebanon was to be included. And you can actually see this tweet from the Prime Minister of Pakistan right here, highlighted With the greatest humility, I'm pleased to announce that the Islamic Republic of Iran and the US of America, along with our allies, have agreed to an immediate ceasefire where everywhere, including Lebanon and elsewhere, effective immediately. Okay, so that's what made the market rally. And what we are seeing is we're seeing that is not what's playing out right now. So you are seeing attacks against Lebanon, and then you are seeing this fiery rhetoric that does boggle the mind coming out of the USA. And just listen to the words of Caroline Leavitt, I believe, the White House press secretary. Let's listen to this. So is this more deception coming out? Let's listen in.
I've seen a lot of inaccurate coverage today from the media about these negotiations and these plans already. So let me be clear and correct the record. The Iranians originally put forward a 10-point plan that was fundamentally unserious, unacceptable, and completely discarded. It was literally thrown in the garbage by President Trump and his negotiating team.
So if that was the case, then why did Trump even, put out this huge tweet talking about that we received a 10-point proposal from Iran and believe it is a workable basis on which to negotiate? I mean, if he was telling the truth, why doesn't he just put out a tweet saying, I received a 10-point plan and I threw it in the bin? I mean, this is the thing with this conflict, and to be honest, it gets taxing to report on this and give you guys the intel, because it's so frustrating to hear these kind of flip-flops and just, one day the sky is blue, the next day the sky is red coming out of President Trump, and it's just insane to listen to, and it is frustrating, I'll be honest with that, just trying to cut through this, and it's just constant, it seems to be constant lying right there. So there is no ceasefire at the moment, it seems to be broken. And the big question is, what happens next? What is happening with this conflict? And I think there is some things the market is obviously pointing out to us. So you're seeing the US oil go up, right? US oil price is going up. What are the futures doing? The futures are going to open up negative tomorrow. So it's looking a little bit shaky on the stock market. You are seeing a potential for escalation. So at the moment, we are in this period where Lebanon right here is getting absolutely pounded during the ceasefire. It's an all-in kind of, it's a huge attack on Lebanon right now. You are seeing condemnations from many European leaders about this attack against Lebanon. And as time ticks by, Lebanon is going to get more and more destroyed. So the big question is, are the Iranians going to react to this? Are the Iranians going to start to fire and reignite? I mean, we're seeing the Strait of Hormuz getting closed today. It's getting restricted. But the next question is, did the drones and missiles from Iran start to fire? What are the Iranians actually saying? So the foreign minister says right here, the Iran-US ceasefire terms are clear and explicit. The US must choose ceasefire or continued war via Israel. It cannot have both. The world sees the massacres in Lebanon. The ball is in the US court, and the world is watching whether it will act on its commitments. And then you also have the Speaker of Parliament coming out right here with 2.9 million views over on X. And he says clause number 3 that we highlighted earlier in the video has been violated, right? So there has been a violation of the treaty. And JD Vance has the gall to say, the Iranian negotiators don't understand English. And I think there's an argument to say that probably the Iranian foreign minister and, the Speaker of Parliament probably have better English than Trump. If you've read some of Trump's tweets, they're just nonsensical. He capitalizes different words. The sentences sometimes don't even make any sense. So, this is just escalating. So where does it go? So I honestly think we are still witnessing a pathway of infrastructure destruction. We're witnessing a pathway of deindustrialization of this whole area. So not only Lebanon is getting destroyed, but I think this whole Persian area, the Gulf area is up for potential destruction. So a lot of the industries, refineries, the chemicals that get manufactured here, the oil, the diesel, guys, this might all be getting destroyed over the long term. That's kind of the trend we are seeing. And you have to remember, this LNG, the liquefied natural gas, and some of this infrastructure, to rebuild this, it literally takes years and years and years to rebuild. So this deindustrialization process is going to wipe out a whole supply of materials coming to the rest of the world, because this place is a place where a lot of stuff gets exported, right? It comes out of the Persian Gulf, comes to the rest of the economy. So in this situation, obviously this is going to be bad. Obviously, you're going to see a bit of a slowdown in economic growth as this gets crunched. These nations are probably going to get poorer. And other countries, other companies out there that can actually, step in and increase their production, they're going to be the main beneficiaries out there. So, companies that do the same type of production as some of these Persian industries, they're going to be massive beneficiaries right now. You can probably see the share prices of those industries, those companies starting to rise. And, the reconstruction companies eventually will also step in at some stage once the smoke is settled. But I think, maybe this thing just gets really hot again. Maybe this thing just explodes to the next level. It doesn't seem to be working out. And it does seem like this is the breakdown. This is where you just see physical violence go both ways right now, because things are just not working out. Now, having said that about that, we'll talk about gold and silver after this bit, but I want to mention, guys, you look at this trend as well. Automatic registration for US draft to begin in December. So they are starting to tighten the grip on the US Army. They're starting to get ready to potentially bring more people into the Army, the military right here. And part of the reason, obviously, is because not many people are joining anymore. It's just not the same as it used to be. People are probably losing their motivation to be part of this. And they're losing faith in, patriotism and things like that, because what are they really fighting for? That's a big question. This problem isn't just gripping the USA. It's gripping, many Western countries out there. It's gripping, Australia. It's gripping the UK. People don't really want to join some of these traditional services that used to be a big part of a nation, a big part of being in a patriotic country. And there's bigger problems. So even after this Iranian conflict, this eventually, once the smoke settles, whenever that is, I think there's still going to be huge problems in the West. And we're seeing more and more of that. And at the same time, rightfully pointed out by some of you guys who have subscribed to the channel, they're also increasing the age for people to join, because obviously they're not getting enough people in. And so they've increased it to 42, up from 34. That's a huge gap. So they want as many people as possible. I mean, why stop at 42? Why not just increase it to 50? Why not go to 60? This thing's obviously, they're obviously looking to arm up. And, unfortunately, this big storm cloud is hovering over us, is growing stronger. And I think in the future, you're going to see more war and conflict. That's why I've been saying geopolitically, this is like where a lot of the, unfortunately, I say at the same time, the world is going. So it's getting worse and worse and worse. So I think right now, based off the data we have, we're going to see more war. We're going to see more deindustrialization of Iran, destruction of Lebanon. And the only thing I think that might potentially prevent this, and the irony of this is it's not actually based here. I think the only thing that's going to prevent this thing from getting really, really bad is you do need to have some type of, this fracture, this splitting in the USA, getting led by people like Joe Kent, new political movements where there is a different type of geopolitics, there's a different type of geopolitical strategy. This is the only thing, this is literally the only solution to prevent this whole problem, because remember, you have a president who is just going through, through motions of, none of this actually benefits the USA. It really doesn't. It doesn't matter which way you really cut it. If you have a brain and you're not trying to grift and lie and things like that and deceive people, you wouldn't really think. There is very little room to say this is beneficial to the USA, this whole conflict. So guys like Joe Kent and other people in the US politics, if they actually get serious about politics and they actually start to, create political power, even I've heard things like Tucker Carlson running for president, that is literally the only thing that will change the face of this. And of course, it's going to take time. It's going to take strategy. Who's going to step up to the plate? Because remember, if you go into that arena, very risky, high risk. But again, you're doing it for more of a service than, say, trying to get money and things like that. That's what you'd think anyway. But I'd say most of the politicians in America, they actually don't do it as a service. They just do it as a way to, get money, and they enjoy it. And they do it as a bit more of a grift than an actual career to benefit people. But that is, that's my take. So it's a bit of a stormy take, unfortunately, today, but it is what it is. And let the chips fall where they may. And but let's talk about gold, silver, and what we're seeing out of the financial markets at the end as well, because you guys know we do love this. We do love our gold, silver. So we are seeing a little bit of a sell-off on gold. We're seeing a little bit of a sell-off on silver as well. So dropping from about 77 down to 73. And remember, you know, if Joe Kent was to get in power, or say Tucker Carlson, I do actually think they would create stronger economic growth in the USA and also globally than what you have right now. Because remember, you know, in war, don't be deceived by, you know, numbers and things like that, just numbers and paper, because what is war actually doing? All you're doing is you're creating, like, you know, military equipment to destroy infrastructure. That's generally all that is happening. Yes, you can steal oil, but again, quite often the stealing of the oil doesn't outweigh the waste of money that is getting destroyed through destruction of infrastructure and the cost of building these things. So remember, all this stuff that could get generated that is getting spent on military equipment, it could actually get spent on home infrastructure. And what does that mean? That means it could get spent on things like hospitals. It could get spent on things like domestic airports. It could get spent on roads, water, you know, electricity, all these types of things. This is where the money could actually go to, and you'd actually feel a lot richer. You probably wouldn't have to make as much money, and it would be a better society to live in. And I know that's a bit of a controversial take, but it's the truth. So remember, war doesn't really benefit you unless, of course, you know, you're one of these companies that benefit from war, like a weapons manufacturer, or you're like one of these other companies that benefit from the destruction of the Persian Gulf and the industries there. But guys, that is a major update for today. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you want the next update, subscribe. Appreciate you guys watching. See you in the next one.